I call this meeting of the Alvin Independent School District to order. Let the record show that the quorum of board members is present and that this meeting has been duly called, and that notice of this meeting has been posted in accordance with Texas Open Meeting Act, Texas Government Code, Chapter 551. First thing we'll have a public hearing. Carol?
So board, this evening we have Dr. Combs, and he's going to do our public hearing on their first report. Dr. Combs.
Thank you, Superintendent Nelson. President Humbert, board, thank you for the opportunity to share some really good news with you and the community this evening. We are talking about our first report, which is the Financial Integrity Rating System of Texas. This is the way that the state holds us accountable and other school districts accountable for our financial integrity and transparency. There's quite a few data pieces that go into this report that are analyzed by the Texas Education Agency. One of the things to keep in mind is that we're really dealing with 3 years. We're presenting in 23-24. It's the 22-23 report, and it's from data that's from 21-22. So it's kind of a lagging indicator, but it still gives a pretty good insight into how we're doing financially as a district. The intention of the first report is really focused on assessing a few things. One is the financial management of public school districts in Texas, including Alvin ISD. Also to measure the alignment between our expenditures and instruction. Certainly, we're a learning organization. That should be our primary focus from a budgeting standpoint. We're looking to evaluate the quality of financial management decisions as part of the first, and then improve financial management across the state and increase financial transparency. Those were the statutory objectives that were outlined when they put this into place in statute. And so currently, the first indicator system ranks 20 different areas, 20 different indicators. However, in a post-COVID world, there are 4 indicators that the state has said we're not going to evaluate. And we're appreciative of that. We would have been fine in Alvin ISD, but it's right that they are not including those. Some of the things that they're holding off on are in relation to budget projections during COVID, and then what your actual budget numbers were. But y'all remember all the uncertainty that happened with enrollment and going virtual, and so they're not holding us accountable to that. Another area they're not judging us on is in relation to estimating what our attendance, enrollment, and ADA will be years out for the legislature. Well, COVID certainly changed that for a lot of districts across the state. So we are being judged on 16 indicators. Some of those are pass-fail, and some of those you receive a graduated number of points based on your performance. And so a superior achievement, much like for our students in a classroom, an A is a 90 to 100. And so we don't need to look much lower than that as related to our meeting this evening, because Alvin ISD did receive a superior achievement on the Texas Financial Indicator Rating System. And so of the 16 indicators that we were graded on, Alvin ISD received a perfect score on 15 out of 16. So kudos to the board. Thank you for your leadership, your diligence through the budgeting process, aligning our expenditures to instruction, really taking care of the classroom. The state really affirmed that good work. And truly, in the areas that we have discretion and the board has discretion, we received a perfect score. The one area where we lost the 6 points, we received a 94, was in relation to your debt burden to values. And so that is a challenge that all fast growth school districts deal with, because the mechanism the state has to build schools to keep up with enrollment growth is through bond elections and issuing bonds to build schools. And so there's limited discretion if you're going to accommodate fast enrollment growth. And so we are in conversation with TEA about that calculation. They've seemed open to evaluating that, but as it sits right now, we do have a 94 out of 100 and a superior rating. So we are extremely pleased by that. We have a number of other accolades that have been identified for our district that the community should realize and the board should be able to take pride in. That we received the Certificate of Excellence in Financial Reporting from the 2 authorities in that area, from the Government Finance Officers Association and from the Association of School Business Officials. And so that again affirms the diligence the board goes through from the budgeting standpoint, from the oversight, as well as the work of the team. A lot of great work goes into that. Certainly kudos to Cheryl Ryan and her team, our Senior Director of Finance, who make sure that we are meeting all those different metrics from a compliance standpoint. And we also, as a district, received a Meritorious Budget Award from the Association of School Business Officials. And this is the highest award that a governmental entity can receive from a transparency standpoint. And so Alvin ISD has been deeply committed to remaining fully transparent from the financial standpoint with our community. We have a 300+ page budget book on the website that the community is able to review at their leisure, at their discretion. And we have been affirmed by receiving that award. I also have good feelings about another presentation you'll receive this evening from our auditors, but I won't steal that show from our auditors. But we are in a good place financially. The state has affirmed that with their superior rating, so congratulations to the board. This is in leadership of the district as well. This is a public hearing, so at this point, I'll ask if there's any questions or comments.
If anybody from the audience has any questions or comments, like I said, it is a public hearing, so you're more than welcome to ask.
Not so much a question, but at a time when so many eyes are on government spend, I appreciate all your transparency and diligence in getting this right for us. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you. Appreciate that from the board, but it really is direction from the board, from Superintendent Nelson, that is an unrelenting priority in the district. And so we're thankful to work with that being the expectation and the directive. So thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Combs. Thank you, Ms. Ryan.
Thank you all.
Thank you all.
All right, now if y'all would please stand, we're going to do the invocation, and the pledges are going to be done by Janessa Segura from Harvey Junior High. So David Selsky, would you do the prayer, please?
Gladly. Heavenly Father, we come to you today asking for your guidance, wisdom, and support as we begin this meeting. Help us engage in meaningful discussion and lead each of us so that we can make fruitful contributions at this time. Enable us to think and strategize in ways that will achieve great results for our children, staff, and community. Inspire us to reflect with gratitude on all that is good in this world and all that we have been given in life, our family, our friends, and the community here at Alvin ISD.
Janessa?
Please place your right hands over your heart. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Now for the Texas Pledge. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
Thank you very much. All right, next we'll move into the superintendent's report.
So board, we've been busy across the district. Right now, we're currently in the middle of Alvin ISD Serves, and the projects throughout the district, our departments and each campus are giving back and saying thank you in a big way. It's our second annual Alvin ISD Serves Month. Throughout the month, each Alvin ISD campus and department completes different community service projects to give thanks to our community that support our district day in and day out. Recently, we had our Alvin ISD Livestock Show and Auction on October the 27th and 28th. We hosted the Livestock Show and Auction at the Verdine Agricultural Science Center. There was a big turnout for the Livestock Show, the Buyer's Luncheon, and the silent auction. So congratulations to all of those students who were very successful at the live auction as well. And we have several of them here this evening with us that we'll recognize. Our Alvin High School hosted their second annual alumni dinner, bringing in community members who were alumni at Alvin High School football program. They came together at Memorial Field for the second annual alumni dinner. Yellow Jackets old and new talked about their past glories on the gridiron and shared those good memories with fellow players. Congratulations to our fine arts program, our bands. All 4 of our Alvin ISD bands received a Division I rating at the Region 17 UIL Marching Band Contest. For the first time ever, Iowa Colony High School, Manville High School, Shadow Creek High School, and Alvin High School advanced to the area marching contest. We're so proud of our marching bands and the seasons that they've had, and congratulations to each one of the band directors. They put in tireless hours with our students. So thank you and congratulations to our students. We also have a playoff game coming up this Friday evening. Iowa Colony has advanced, and they will be playing in Bryan College Station at Merrill Stadium, and they're still undefeated. So good luck to the Pioneers. And then, of course, we have Thanksgiving break coming up next week, November the 21st through the 24th.
Very good. All right, next, we'll move on into staff and student commendation. Renee?
Good evening, board and guests. We are glad that you joined us today. So when I call your name, please come up and we'll take a few photos. Parents, this is your time to take photos. So if your child's being called and you want to, just make your way to the center aisle or stand wherever you are. We'll wait for you because this is all about your kids. So we're going to go ahead and get started. So first of all, we're going to start with the Brazoria County Fair. So congratulations to these students and their animals who were named Grand Champions, Reserve Champions, and High Point Champions at the Brazoria County Fair in October. So when I call your name, please come up. We'll start with Alvin High School. Aubrey Curtis. Aiden Sonier. Brody Craigmile. Cameron Fontenot. Cheyenne Skinner. Grace Sutton. Haley Bunkner. Isabel Walkenberg, sorry about that. Kaylee Schauer. Kenna Minton. Tyler Sewell. Loretta Griggs. Mackenzie Peer. Natalie Ashworth. Olivia Adams. Tori Peters. And Jake Gates. Congratulations to all of our Alvin High School competitors. We know how much work that goes into this. It's a lot of work. And so congratulations, your hard work paid off.
Yeah.
Y'all can make 2
Can we
rows.
get
Yeah, some of you step
maybe
up on
the
the
shorter
back.
ones, maybe scoot up, and then the
Yeah.
taller ones kind of,
The taller
Miss-
ones go up
yeah.
on the step. There you go.
there we go.
Yeah, there you go. And then there you go.
There we go. Awesome.
Perfect.
Can everybody look at your parents?
Yes.
So, Ms. Rives, while they're taking pictures, I believe Grace Sutton was also our Fair Queen candidate.
Really?
Yes.
Well, congratulations.
Grace, will you raise your hand? Congratulations for being our Fair Queen.
Wonderful.
Wonderful.
Great job. You may have a seat now. Congratulations to y'all. The next one is Manville High School, and we have Audrey Smith with Manville High School. Congratulations. And for Iowa Colony High School, we have Haley Goddard. Lee here? Okay. For EC Mason, we have Addison Morosco. Actually, that is it. Congratulations.
So, Ms. Rives, I just want to say, I know several of these students, and over the years, I mean, they start young. They put a lot of hours into their projects.
Yes.
And I know we have many more winners. These were our grand champions, reserve, and high point getters. But a lot of these students are involved in other activities outside of FFA or 4-H or ag classes. So congratulations to all of you. I know several of you are in fine arts and athletics and other things, and you keep your grades up. So congratulations, best wishes to you, and we're so proud of all that you do for your families, but also for your teachers and Alvin ISD. And thank you. If the teachers are here this evening, will you stand because you put in so, oh yes, come on, Miss Clark, stand up. Miss Webb. Thank you. You all put in so many additional hours, so we appreciate all that you do for our students. Thank you so much.
Definitely. And now we'll continue, and we're going to go to staff commendations, and we have one. We have Mr. Brad Butler. So, Shadow Creek High School football coach Brad Butler received the Week 10 Dave Campbell's Unsung Coaching Heroes Award.
Say that real fast.
Yes, I could barely get it out. This award is given to amazing coaches who make a difference in their communities. So congratulations, that is a big deal. Great job.
Congratulations, Coach Butler.
You need him to come back up and get a good picture?
Mom needs a picture. I will say that, Coach Butler has done a remarkable job at Shadow Creek High School's football program, and it shows. And I know it didn't end the way we wanted it, but that's okay. We'll get him again next year. But I will say he's mentored several coaches that have gone on, not all, but several of coaches at Iowa Colony High School worked under the direction of Coach Butler. And so thank you for all you do to help mentor not only our students, but other coaches. So thank you.
All right, if y'all want to stay students, you're more than welcome, but at this time, if y'all want to leave and go home and do homework, it's a time.
So I looked, and Monday is a professional development day, so they're out of school, but it's not Thanksgiving holiday.
Thank you.
Where y'all going?
We're going to Dallas. They play SEM this weekend in Dallas. So I think we're just going to stay the weekend and then come back Monday or whatever. But I was like,
Fun. You're like, oh goodness.
I didn't think we had to come back.
Yeah,
I figured that. I didn't think about that.
yeah. So teachers will be
Yeah.
there, but kids won't.
Always.
Yeah, I saw that too, and I was like, it's only a 4
I'm
day.
like, I kept counting. I was like,
All right, next we'll have a presentation on the financial audit.
Board, this evening, we have Weaver Accountants, and we have Mr. John DeBurrow. He's a CPA, and he's the partner, and he oversaw our job, our project, our audit, right? So we'll have John present our financial audit this evening.
And thank you. Thank you for allowing me to meet with you this evening to present the results of the fiscal year 2023 audit. And thank you for Dan for stealing my thunder and with the spoiler. I want to go over a brief presentation with you tonight to present the results of the audit. And I'd like to, before I do so, I'd like to thank Daniel and Cheryl and Robin and the rest of the finance staff for doing a great job this year. We received nothing but the full cooperation of all the staff, and it turned out to be a great audit. I served as the engagement partner on the audit, and though he's not with me tonight, Stephen Smith was the manager on the audit. We've We've got two slides here that present the results of the audit. The first slide talks about the audit of the district's financial statements. I'm happy to report that we've issued an unmodified opinion on the district's financial statements. That's a clean opinion, and it just means that we feel that the district's financial statements are fairly presented in all material respects in accordance with GAAP. There were no material weaknesses in internal control, no significant deficiencies in internal control. So those are exactly what you want. The second slide talks about the audit of the district's federal financial assistance programs, also known as a single audit. And I'm happy to report that we've also issued an unmodified opinion on the district's compliance with major federal financial assistance. So in other words, we feel that the district complied in all material respects with all the compliance requirements of the major federal program, which was the ESSER program as well as the Emergency Connectivity Program this year. There were two major programs. And I'm also happy to report that there were no material weaknesses in internal control over compliance and no significant deficiencies. So it was a clean audit all around. So congratulations. Just a couple of things that I also need to communicate to you, and we went through a more in-depth presentation with the audit committee last week, but I just want to hit some high notes on a few things. We're required to communicate to you whether there were any material adjustments that had to be made, as well as any uncorrected misstatements, and there were none to report. Also, the district this year had to implement a new audit standard for subscription-based IT arrangements, and they did so very well, implementing both what are known as SBITA assets and liabilities. There were no disagreements with management over the application of any accounting standards, and no independence issues. And then I just have a few financial highlight slides I want to share with you. The first goes through the general fund, which is the main operating fund of the district. Overall revenues this year were $336.4 million. Expenditures were $299.6 million. And overall general fund balance increased by $16.4 million. Overall, budgetary-wise, revenues exceeded the budget by $3.3 million, while general fund expenditures and transfers out were under budget by $26.3 million. And as I mentioned, the fund balance increased by $16.4 million. And also a good indicator is that general administration expense was only 2%, which is less than the state average. The debt service fund also did well this year. The revenues were $61.2 million and expenditures $69.1 million. Overall, the fund balance in the debt service fund increased by $2.4 million. And finally, the other governmental fund that was a major fund is the capital projects fund of the district. Capital projects fund balance decreased by $108.9 million. That was simply a timing issue because of expenditures on capital projects of bonds that were issued in the previous year. And again, overall, I'd like to thank all of the finance staff for a great job. It was a very clean audit, and as I mentioned, we received nothing but the full cooperation of the district staff.
John, can you tell them a little bit of, and maybe you already did, the timeline of when y'all started and how long your staff is here doing the audit?
Sure. We perform the audit in really two waves. We perform interim field work in the spring, in May, and although the fiscal year isn't closed out yet, that gives us a good opportunity to look at internal controls of the district. So we came in and we look at the internal controls, get an understanding of the processes over cash disbursements and payroll and revenues, and again, identify the controls during those processes. And if there were any control deficiencies, we would have brought those to management at that point in time, but thankfully there were no control deficiencies that were identified. And then we walk through transactions to get an understanding of whether or not those controls that have been explained to us are actually in place and operating as designed. So we did that and started to do some of our testing of compliance of the district's federal financial assistance programs during May. Then we came back in September and performed the majority of our procedures where we use a collection of different methodologies, doing some analytics, some vouching of transactions to source documents, to test the district's different balances and activity for the year. So it's quite a process,
Very in-depth. Thank you.
but they did a great job.
Thank you. Kudos to our department. I mean, that's a lot of time and a lot of pulling data for them, and yes, thank you.
Yeah, it was a lot of work, and I have to call out Cheryl. There was a new standard this year, as I mentioned, for the subscription-based IT arrangements, and she really took ownership of that project and breathed life into it and did a great job with it.
Does anybody have any questions?
Thank you.
Does anybody have any questions? Thank you very much.
All right, thank you.
John.
Thank y'all.
Thank you.
All right, next we have a presentation from the School Boundary Advisory Committee.
So Board, Mr. Gesh has been overseeing the School Boundary Advisory Committee, and this evening, I believe he has some committee members that are here to present a proposal of what their recommendations are, and then we will then bring it to you for consideration for vote in December. That way, it gives a month for everyone to look it over and ask questions, and so this evening, if y'all want to come forward. Yeah. If you'll introduce yourself as well. We know you, Mr. Kennedy, but just so everyone in the room knows.
Would appear I have to hold it, is that correct? Good evening, Superintendent Nelson and President Hummingbird and Alvin ISD Board of Trustees. My name is Will Kennedy, and I am joined here this evening with Ms. Gina Thomas, Ms. Angela Curl Okafor, and Mr. Jason Black, who are all residents of Alvin ISD that have served on the School Boundary Advisory Committee, better known as the SBAC. The committee was made up of parents from Alvin ISD community. The meetings were open to the public, and the meetings were recorded and posted on the SBAC website for review. The entire Alvin ISD community was notified about the meetings. We'll begin tonight's presentation by giving you information on the SBAC purpose and process, and then we'll present recommendations to the committee has developed for the rezoning of elementary campuses and junior high schools to accommodate the new campuses that will be opening in the fall of 2024. The purpose of revising school boundaries is to optimize school facility usage and to accommodate growth patterns. The main focus of our recommendations are Barbara Bennett Elementary and Iowa Colony Junior High campuses that will be opening in the fall of 2024. Also, as you are all well aware, Alvin ISD has campuses that are currently at or over capacity. While some campuses have available capacity, the SBAC has developed attendance boundary recommendations to address crowded campuses and utilize campuses that are available and have additional capacity with regard to both creating community-based schools with maintaining safety and security throughout the district. Following tonight's presentation, the intention is that we will have provided the Board of Trustees with recommendations to take action on during the December school board meeting. We also welcome community feedback on our committee recommendations. There will be parent, university class, town hall meetings to review the proposed boundaries with the community prior to the December school board meeting. Parents and community members will have the opportunity to submit questions, comments, or concerns via Let's Chat. At this time, I will cede the floor to Ms. Gina Thomas.
Thank you, Will. On October 5th, 2023, we held the initial SBAC meeting to explain the rationale for building new schools and the reason for rezoning. During the meeting, the rezoning process was explained and the decision principles for determining boundaries were reviewed. We also discussed the dates and times of meetings and expectations of the committee members. Zonda Demographics reviewed the preliminary drafts for Bennett Elementary and Iowa Colony Junior High School that were presented to the school board last fall. These were used as our launch point for the work this year that needed to be done based on current demographics. The second meeting of SBAC was held on October 12th. Zonda Demographics was present to provide maps that were renderings from the first meeting's work. The decision principles were reviewed. We continued working on elementary boundaries. The committee reviewed information on current and projected elementary school capacities. The committee commenced working on initial drafts for Bennett Elementary and Iowa Colony Junior High boundary changes. The third and final meeting of SBAC was held on October 24th. We made some adjustments to junior high schools based on recommendations from the Transportation Department. This was in an effort to circumvent potential transportation issues. For the sake of consistency, all boundary meetings were held at Jackie Caffey Junior High. At this time, I would like to now give the floor over to Angela. She will present the School Boundary Advisory Committee's recommendation for Bennett Elementary that will take effect in fall of 2024, followed by Jason, who will present our recommendations for Iowa Colony rezone that will take effect in fall of 2024.
The map represents SBAC's recommendation for the elementary plan for Bennett Elementary 2024. The major things that we took into consideration when making boundary adjustments included available capacity at Savannah Lakes and the overcapacity at Pomona and E.C. Mason Elementary. Additionally, hearing the voices of parents in the Lakes of Savannah subdivision, the forecasted numbers show that those that had attended in their neighborhood school, Additionally, hearing the voices in Lakes of Savannah subdivision, the forecasted numbers show that attending their neighborhood school, the Savannah Lakes Elementary, is now a viable option. We're excited to be able to suggest this change in support of the families in the area. Looking at the elementary enrollment forecast, you'll notice that the new zones give relief to Meridiana, E.C. Mason, and Pomona elementary schools, with a sustainable forecast with the majority of other elementary schools for the next 4 to 5 years.
The junior high school plan is focused on the opening of junior high number 9, Iowa Colony Junior High. With the moves that have been made to the boundary lines, all surrounding schools will have functional student capacity over the next few years. The campuses affected by this rezone will be Jackie Caffey, Fairview, Alvin, Rodeo Palms, and Manville Junior High schools. With this rezone, the forecast shows that all of the AISD junior high schools will be at manageable capacities until 2027. That completes our recommendations for the SBAC for this cycle. All of our recommendations are transportation friendly and provide manageable enrollment numbers. I think I can speak for all of us when I say that this was a very unique and enlightening experience. We greatly appreciate the opportunity to help shape the future of our district during this exciting season of growth and prosperity. Thank you again for reviewing and considering the recommendations from the School Boundary Advisory Committee.
Thank you. Do y'all have questions for? So will these be posted, or are they posted on the website?
There's a School Boundary Advisory Committee page where they're up on the website.
Okay.
I want to just say the work that goes into these things are tremendous, and there's a lot of thought goes in there. And with y'all guiding that and helping us to make a better decision, because y'all involve the parents and things like that. So it's a good thing. Y'all help us out tremendously, and it's not an easy task, and it's, so thank y'all very much for the work y'all put into this.
Thank you. Sure. Thank you.
Thank you.
We are now to the open forum portion of the agenda. If you would like to address the board, you should have completed the public participation form and submitted it to the superintendent's secretary prior to the meeting according to policy BED local. After I call your name, please come to the podium and state your name and the purpose for addressing the board. Please understand that you will have 3 minutes to speak. Yet if 10 or more speakers are signed up to speak, the board president shall have the discretion to reduce the time limit to no less than 1 minute based on time constraints on the conduct of board business. If a translator is needed, you will be given 6 minutes to speak. I respectfully ask that you make no derogatory statements about any student or staff of Alvin ISD. I ask that you also understand that the board cannot take action on your request or comment at this time. However, the president or designee may refer the request to the superintendent for review. And I'm going to apologize up front if I do not say your names correctly. The first one will be Arissa Sharif. I'm sorry, I couldn't hear what.
Students first, so let's see. So this is a student, I think. Yes. Arissa Sharif? Okay. You're a student, correct? Okay, if you want to come up first.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Arisa Sharif. I am the president at Shadow Creek High School, the Club Muslim Student Association, also known as MSA. Before I begin, I would like to thank everyone for giving us this opportunity to share our concerns this evening. The MSA officers and I were planning to host a Q&A open discussion at our school this past Friday about the current events across the world. However, we received an email to immediately cancel the event, and our club sponsor informed us that he had been given a firm warning about our club. However, in the past, another club had held an open discussion just like the one we were planning, and they were approved to have it. When it came to MSA, the discussion was abruptly shut down. When some of the officers and I went in to discuss this issue, the reasoning for not letting us proceed with the discussion was that the teachers were not well trained for topics such controversial topics, or the teachers were not, sorry, let me start over, okay. The discussion was that the teachers were not well trained for such controversial topics to be discussed. The officers and I found this very odd, as other clubs at our school were allowed to host different types of controversial discussions ranging from abortion rights to gun violence. And not only were they allowed to just host these types of discussions, but their club was allowed to be sponsored by a teacher who was not knowledgeable enough on these topics. The event we were planning to host was supposed to be a safe setting for everyone of all beliefs and all faiths to come and have a civil conversation of everyone's feelings and experiences with the current issues going on in the world. As Muslims, it is important for us that we stick to our beliefs. We felt as if our voices were silenced, and we were not able to have discussions that value our safety. The safety and feelings of others are being accounted for except for ours. To combat this issue, we ask for interfaith discussions to be allowed at our school that may be used to provide a neutral ground for discussions within our community. We would like to acknowledge our principal for taking the steps to accommodate us. By taking the initiative to bring the Social Studies Department in to help better equip our club sponsors in handling such controversial topics, we are very grateful and thankful for this opportunity and would like to continue seeing this action towards diversity, equity, and inclusion on our campus and throughout the ISD. It is under our understanding that we will be able to host these kinds of discussions in the future within a week or two of returning to school, and we will keep you posted. Thank you.
Thank you.
I guess this is the other student?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Next, we'll have, again, I apologize if I do not get your name correct. Bushra Shima.
Good evening. My name is Bushra Chima, and I'm a junior attending Shadow Creek High School, as well as the Shadow Creek High School MSA Muslim Student Association Vice President. I came in front of you all tonight to express concern of unfair representation of Muslims and Palestinians on our campus. The MSA designed a flyer which featured the Palestinian flag. We were told that having the Palestinian flag is not allowed, and that flags are not allowed to be posted at all. We feel as if this no flags is a restriction made exclusively for our club. This is because there is an Israeli flag hung up on the Shadow Creek High School campus in the Spanish hallway. I have talked to Palestinian students about this issue, and we collectively agree upon feeling unrepresented since there is no Palestinian flag and it's being shut down when we try to represent ourselves. This is supposed to be a place where anyone is welcome and equally represented. Unfortunately, that's not how we feel while attending Shadow Creek High School. This concern is more than just a flag. This flag represents history, rich culture, resistance, strength, years of endurance, strong faith, and so much more. My Palestinian peers have searched for their flag in culture and history textbooks for all their years in school, just to never find it. I understand that the intention behind the Israeli flag is not to express anti-Palestinian values, but when a restriction is put on our flag, it feels as if that is what the intention is. Our duty as Muslims is to never forget Palestine and its people. We need to pass the remembrance on to future generations, but really how far down can we pass it when it's not being represented in a place where we and our kids will one day spend 8 hours of their days, 5 days a week. We see this issue becoming something bigger in the future, and in order for that to not happen, we ask that a Palestinian flag be permitted to be hung up, so Palestinian and Muslim students feel equally represented just as everyone else, and we feel comfortable while attending school. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, we have Nada Mansour. And again, I apologize if I'm not saying it right.
We had 2 students, and then I believe 2, I think they were waiting to see if there's, so is Nada here, Mansour? She's here.
Oh, okay.
Mr. Humberg.
Thank you.
I'm greeting you tonight with the greeting I know best. Assalamu alaikum. Peace be upon y'all. I am here tonight as a member of our community, and most importantly as a mother, to shed light on particularly sensitive humanitarian concern in my home, the Middle East. My brothers and sisters in Gaza have not had access to water, food, medical aid, and shelter in the last 39 days. Babies are dying in incubators. Cancer patients have no access to medical care, all due to the lack of electricity. Tens, hundreds, and thousands are murdered by the minute. But this lack of humanity isn't only affecting my people back home. This issue affects your students, my students as well. This issue affects my students. Many of our students are struggling today with mental illnesses due to what is happening back home, and the lack of recognition and support today is only worsening it. I am here to emphasize the importance of our district recognizing and addressing the emotional challenges our children are facing during these difficult times. As a community member, many of us are grappling with numerous struggles, especially in our attempts to connect with our families back home, and that is the simplest of problems. Many of our students have experienced profound losses with their families due to the ongoing conflict. It is crucial to acknowledge that this topic holds great sensitivity for each and every member of our community. I am advocating for the freedom of our children to have the absolute right to exercise their First Amendment rights without any restrictions. I refuse to have anyone restrict their form of expression of themselves through religious practices, speech, and association. I am here to remind us all that before we were all students, teachers, or staff, we were and are Americans. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right, next we have Kalada Wani.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for your time and attention. My name is Khalida Wani. I am here today to express my concerns in regard to the TEA and Governor Abbott's October 22nd curriculum recommendations related to the history of the Israeli-Palestinian conflict entitled Educational Resources on Israeli Conflict for Texas Students. First, I would like you to know that I am a strong believer in the value and role of the public school system. My own children are a testament to the quality and impact the public schools, the public school education having been afforded a quality education. My own children are a testament to the quality and impact of public school education having been afforded a quality education that has allowed my son to excel in school, compete, obtain admission in his major of choice in a very competitive university, thanks to all of the teachers, administrators, and elected officials such as yourselves who have given him the best possible start in his life here in this country as a child of immigrants unfamiliar with the system. That being said, I do find myself very disappointed with what I perceive as an erosion of public trust in the school system and an effort on the part of our political leaders to turn our schools into political battlefields. A recent example of this sad and unacceptable trend is the curriculum recommendation put out by Governor Abbott and the TEA in the form of a one-sided and biased historical account of the Israeli and Palestinian conflict, which picks and chooses what students should be taught, such that the information derived from the learning exercise does not take into account the history of the conflict from the perspective of the Palestinian nation and its people. As a non-parochial entity, my understanding and expectation is that curriculum sources for public school system are derived from objective, non-partisan, scholarly research material on the topic being taught, and not from organizations such as the Institute, for example, Institute for Curriculum Services, an organization whose stated goal on their website is to help educators explore Judaism and introduce students to Judaism and other similar sources of educational material. A thorough and careful review of the resources put out by the TEA by parent groups has revealed that Islamophobia was just mentioned once throughout the entire set of resources in the ADL guidance. The resources provided do not in any meaningful manner expand on this topic, particularly given the rise in Islamophobia we're witnessing today in our country in reaction to the ongoing conflict in Gaza. Presenting a biased, one-sided narration of historical facts does not allow students to gain a broader understanding of the conflict and thus form for themselves educated opinions based on accurate and complete information. This in turn perpetuates behaviors that allow students to make incorrect assumptions both about Muslim and Jewish communities. I implore you to listen to our voices so that we continue to trust the public school system to educate our children in an unbiased manner. Today's students, you are helping educate. In our schools are tomorrow's leaders. We do want our children to inherit a world where I am asking a question here. Do we want our children to inherit a world where we dehumanize and otherize our fellow human beings in the name of whatever it is that you may call it? If not, then we need to take a good, hard look at
we are over time, and I hate to do it. So.
I'm done. I do want to say at the end, we do want our children to grow up with a good understanding of history and a much stronger moral compass. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
All right, next we're into the consent agenda items. Do we have a motion to approve consent, or does anybody want to pull any of those items and do them separately? All right, then do we have a motion to approve consent agenda items A through E as presented by Trustee Harris? Any second?
Second.
By Trustee Selsky. I'm sorry? I have nobody else signed up.
So I was going to say, Ms. McWhorter's the one that usually receives those and checks her email. So if you want to come over and talk with her, but, okay, if you'll talk to her. We're going to go on, and then yeah, go ahead, you're in the middle of a vote.
Okay. All right, all in favor? All opposed? Motion carries 7-0. Let's just take 1 minute before we move to the next item. Okay.
He said we're going to wait a minute for you
We'll
to
wait.
look for her email. Yeah, you don't have your email up here? Okay. Yeah, if you don't mind, you can look and then come back and or unless you need her name. Yes, we'll wait.
We'll wait.
We'll wait. We don't mind waiting. Go ahead.
Very good. All right, we're going to go back to open forum at this time. So, yes, ma'am. Again, Delia Kassab?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay.
It's good enough. Thank you, trustees and principals, for having us today. My name is Dr. Delia Kassab, and I am a resident of Alvin ISD, and I am a pharmacist. I would like to start off by saying, no, Mr. Governor. We will not accept the October 20th additional TEA funds by Governor Abbott to further provide a false narrative on the facts of history of the Palestinian people. Palestine is a land that even Jesus Christ knew as Palestine. Did you guys know that? It was Palestine before Christ's existence. It was Palestine. It was the name of the Holy Land when Israelites lived there before Christ and after. Today, I'm here as an Arab American who for far too long has been referred to as a threat. It started the day of 9/11, when I was only 15 years old and scared to death because my country was being attacked. But immediately, so was I by my peers and my teachers who called me a threat that day. Muslims in this nation have for far too long allowed and become immune to these unreasonable definitions that scream Islamophobia. So let me tell you clearly, not today. Not in our most diverse school system, Alvin ISD. You will hear, you actually have heard, from brave girls that will shape the future of this country into a future of inclusion and respect. Enough is enough is enough. I am appalled that people don't understand the hurt the Israeli flag means to Palestinian Americans. It means genocide. For 75 years, it means oppression. Gaza is an open-air prison with the worst humanitarian conditions, even pre-October 7th's horrific attack. This May and June alone, over 400 Palestinians were killed, including 37 children. 37 children. None with guns, none armed, none threatening. That is what an oppressor does. We need to wake up. Today, I say, let's get together and heal. Let's not threaten our students by not allowing them to put up the Palestinian flag, but welcoming their oppressor's flag, the Israelis' flag, and government, a government that has slaughtered the Palestinian people. Let me be clear, not the Israeli people. Let me say it again. My words speak of the Israeli government and not the people.
Ma'am, I'm going to have to ask you because we've got to keep it on a strict timeline.
Sure, yes, sir, I understand. I'm almost done. If we want to allow one flag, we shouldn't allow the other. These kids have lost loved ones in Palestine. They have lost family members that didn't resist but are the others. So their murders are justified. These are family members who visited family in Gaza this summer and did normal things like go to a trampoline park and beach in Gaza. I saw pictures of kids living normal lives.
Ma'am, I hate to interrupt you, but we do have to keep it on the time schedule.
So let me.
You've got about 10 seconds, and then I'm
So let me go ahead to the end. So I welcome our communities to come together and show that world what love and respect looks like. Please help us change the course of these horrific events. Please protect our children's First Amendment rights, not only for one group, but for all. Please denounce Islamophobia and anti-Semitism alike. Please sign the resolution presented to you today to stand for our American values in caring about kids and protecting human life.
Thank you.
Okay, I will present this to you guys for review.
If you will leave those with me, I'll make sure they get to the rest of the board members, please. Thank you. All right. Next, we have number 9, request to consider approval of campus performance objective.
So Board Texas Education Code, Section 11.253, requires that each district and campus create an improvement plan, set performance objectives based on data from the Texas Academic Performance Report, which we refer to as the TAPER, and periodically measure progress toward these performance objectives. The performance objectives that are created by each campus must be approved by the local Board of Trustees and must be included in the published annual report, and they're all attached.
All right, do we have a motion to approve the campus performance objectives as presented?
So moved.
By trustee Peterson, do we have a second? By trustee Harris. Any questions or comments? All in favor?
Oh,
I'm sorry.
I just had a quick comment. I know that the school leadership and their teams take a lot of time putting these campus improvement plans together, and I was very touched by seeing how many schools in the district included social emotional wellness and mental health support programs as part of their goals for the upcoming year. So I just wanted to note that.
Any other questions or comments? All in favor? All opposed? Motion carries 7-0. Next, we will move to request consider approval of board adopted goals per House Bill 3.
So House Bill 3 requires that school boards adopt detailed plans to achieve goals in 2 key areas. First, early childhood literacy and mathematics, proficiency for 3rd grade students, and career, college, and military readiness. The district and each campus are required to set specific, quantifiable annual goals in these areas for 5 years. The early childhood plans are required to include annual goals for aggregate student growth on 3rd grade math and reading STAR, annual targets for students in each group evaluated under Closing Gaps domain, and targeted professional development for classroom teachers. The CCMR plans are required to include annual goals for aggregate student growth on CCMR, readiness indicators evaluated under the student achievement domain, and annual targets for students in each group evaluated under Closing the Gaps domain. The board will receive interim progress updates on each of these House Bill 3 board goals in quarterly reports.
Do we have a motion or approval HB 3 early childhood literacy and mathematics and CCMR board goals as presented? So moved. By trustee Scott, do we have a second? By trustee Garza. Any questions or comments?
Well, I mean, not so much a question, but I guess in the year and a half I've been on the board, I guess 3rd grade reading and math has kind of been drilled into me as something very pivotal in the success of someone's 3 through 12 career. Is that a fair?
Academics, yes, it's very important that kids are on level.
Right, because if they don't do well in 3rd, then they won't. Then there's statistics that show that many of them may not do well in 4th, and then it deteriorates from there, right?
So it's so important then to really have strong interventions and some pretty intense, instruction for those students to try to close the gaps. That's why there was so much concern during COVID, was because there was that backward slide. So we really tried to put a lot of things in place to keep kids either on grade level or to catch up. So yes, there is a lot of research out there that shows that 3rd grade literacy is very important in the success of a student.
Okay, and right now we're about, if I looked at the charts correctly, we're somewhere around 40 or 42% proficiency in 3rd grade in literacy and math. Is that about right? I don't need exact numbers. But
Average across the district, do you?
For meetings last year, are you talking about reading levels, or are you talking about how they performed on STAR?
No, when I look at district-wide, it says over the next 2 years, we want to go from 41 to 60% in literacy and 32 to 55% in math.
So these are STAR scores, and STAR scores really aren't equivalent to 100%. It's a different measurement in STAR than what we would say like a typical report card would be. Does that make sense? The way they calculate.
So over the next 2 years, we're trying to achieve a 20% increase in both of those areas for third grade reading and math. Is that the idea? Is that the way I should interpret it?
So I'm going to let Dr. Valdez leads our committee that meets and does periodic, understanding of closing that gap.
5-year goals that this cycle started in '21, which was where we had the COVID loss. Yes, we do have a very lofty goal to make a big stride like that because we had loss, and then you can see even from '22 to '23, we went up about 10 percentage points. So even with the lofty goal, we were able to meet that. We fell a little short this year, but we do continue to push to get to that level. That's where we believe our expectations should be.
Because I like aggressive goals, so I'm 20% is pretty aggressive in just 2 years. So, yeah. Do we have is that just a goal, or do we actually have plans on how to hit those numbers?
Yeah, we absolutely have plans. I mean, although Ms. Nelson mentioned interventions, really our biggest push is on first instruction, making sure our teachers have the support and the training and the coaching that they need. We're a fast growth district, so we consistently have new teachers in the district, so we're doing our best, to meet that challenge. But yes, every year we make plans, and they're not the same every year because we evaluate what we did in the previous year.
Got it. Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? All in favor? All opposed? Motion carries 7-0. Next, we have request to consider approval of financial audit report.
So Board, this evening, you had the presentation from Weaver, and so the 22-23 financial audit was presented. An additional regulation of Alvin ISD is to annually submit the results of the audit to TEA after an official vote has been taken by the Board of Trustees.
All right, do we have a motion to approve the 2022-2023 financial audit as presented? Trustee Harris, second by Trustee Selsky. Any questions or comments? All in favor? All opposed? Motion carries 7-0. Next, we have request to consider approval of 2023 tax roll.
So Board, this is just affirming that you're aware of the tax roll in compliance with Property Tax Code 26.09E. Alvin ISD's 2023 tax roll is presented to the Alvin ISD Board of Trustees. The attached tax roll was provided by Brazoria County Tax Assessor Collector Kristen Bulenick on October 13th, 2023.
All right, do we have a motion that the board affirm the 2023 Alvin ISD tax roll has been presented for review? By Trustee Scott, second by Trustee Garza. Any questions or comments? All in favor? All opposed? Motion carries 7-0. Next, we have request to consider approval of votes for Brazoria County Appraisal District Board of Directors, election 2024-2025.
So Board, 34 voting taxing units were entitled to submit by written resolution nominations to fill the 5-member Board of Directors of the Brazoria County Appraisal District. At the October 10, 2023 meeting, the Alvin ISD Board of Trustees approved a resolution nominating Mr. Tommy King as a candidate to serve on the Board of Directors for Brazoria County Appraisal District. Attached is the official ballot with all of the nominations that were received. Alvin ISD is entitled to cast 885 votes. Mr. Tommy King has served as our district representative since 2015 and has expressed his willingness to continue to serve.
All right, do we have a motion to approve to cast 885 votes for Mr. Tommy King to represent Alvin ISD on the Brazoria County Appraisal District Board of Directors, 2024-2025? So by Trustee Peterson, a second by Trustee Johnson. Any questions or comments? All in favor? All opposed? Motion carries 7-0. Next, we have request to consider approval of annexation of the Sterling Lakes North School sites into the City of Iowa Colony.
So Board, portions of Sterling Lakes North school sites at the southwest corner of Karsten Boulevard and Bullard Parkway lie outside of the boundary of the City of Iowa Colony. As the seller continues to develop this property per the post-closing agreement, permitting and delivery of services obligate the entire site to be annexed into the jurisdictional area of this entity.
All right, do we have a motion to approve annexation of the entire Sterling Lakes North School sites into the boundary of the City of Iowa Colony and delegate authority to the superintendent or her designee to pursue and execute all necessary documentations. By trustee Harris. Do we have a second? By trustee Scott. Any questions or comments? All in favor? All opposed? Motion carries 7-0. All right, next we have request to consider approval of employment of personnel.
So board attached are recommendations for teacher contracts from either teachers that have recently passed their certification or teachers that have been hired to fill any openings, current openings.
All right, do we have a motion be granted for, approval be granted for requested personnel items as presented? By trustee Garza, do we have a second? By trustee Johnson. Any questions or comments? All in favor? All opposed? Motion carries 7-0. Next, we have request to consider approval of administrative staffing position, principal at Bennett Elementary.
So board, during our budget process, we did budget for this position, but we're requesting the approval of the position of principal so that we can move forward with interviews and hopefully bring a candidate in January to you from the committee recommendation. The salary that's listed on here is prorated because that principal will start after spring break, so it wouldn't be a full year.
All right, do we have a motion for approval be granted for the administrative staffing position of principal at Bennett Elementary School as presented? By trustee Scott, we have a second by trustee Selsky. Any questions or comments? All in favor? All opposed? Motion carries 7-0. Next, we have request to consider approval of administrative staffing position, principal, Iowa Colony Junior High.
So board, with the opening of Iowa Colony Junior High, just like Bennett, for next school year, we're requesting the position of principal, so that we can bring you a recommendation in January.
All right, do we have a motion for approval be granted for the administrative staffing position of principal, Iowa Colony Junior High School as submitted? Trustee Selsky, second by trustee Johnson. Any questions or comments?
Trustee Scott had a question.
This again is a prorated.
Yes, prorated salary.
Okay.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? All in favor? All opposed? Motion carries 7-0. Next, we have request to consider approval of administrative appointment, elementary assistant principal at Nichols Mock.
So board, you're aware that we had an opening for an assistant principal for Nichols Mock Elementary, and our Mr. John Yancey, who's currently serving Alvin ISD as social studies instructional coach at Fairview Junior High, is the recommendation. He previously taught for 15 years at Alvin Junior High. Prior to his time in Alvin ISD, taught for 4 years at Edison Middle School and HISD and 1 year in Santa Fe ISD. John has 23 years of experience in education, 18 of those being with Alvin ISD. He received his bachelor's degree in history from the University of Houston-Clear Lake, his master's of education in curriculum and instruction from the University of Houston-Clear Lake, and his master's in educational administration from the University of Houston-Clear Lake. So we're asking for consideration for approval for Mr. Yancey to serve as assistant principal at Nichols Mock Elementary with Ms. Holtzclaw.
Do we have a motion for approval be granted for Mr. John Yancey as assistant principal at Nichols Mock Elementary? Trustee Harris, second by trustee Peterson. Any questions or comments? All in favor? All opposed? Motion carries 7-0.
Mr. Yancey, you want to stand up? Will you introduce any guests you may have brought?
I've got my son with me. He doesn't have any Alvin ties until now. He's now a long-term sub. And my daughter, who's a senior at Alvin High School.
Well, congratulations, Mr. Yancey.
Next, we have request to consider approval of administrative appointment, elementary principal at Meridiana.
So board, as you're aware, Ms. Weiss is retiring in December, and she's been with us for several years. And so how many years, Julie? 15 years with Alvin ISD. But she's reached retirement, and so we're happy for her, sad to see her go, but we're also excited to name her replacement this evening. The committee is recommending Ms. Carla Boyce. She's currently serving Alvin ISD as the assistant principal at Meridiana Elementary. She previously served Glen York Elementary for 5 years as a teacher and then literacy coach before being promoted to assistant principal of Bel Sanchez Elementary with Mr. Nieto, where she served for 2 years. Carla has served 21 years' experience in education, 7 of those being in Alvin ISD. She received her bachelor's degree in education from Long Island University and her master's degree in education from Queens College. The committee has recommended to myself, and I'm recommending to the board, that Ms. Boyce be recommended for consideration to lead the staff and students as principal of Meridiana Elementary.
Do we have a motion for approval be granted for Ms. Carla Boyce to be principal Meridiana Elementary? By Trustee Scott, second by Trustee Garza. Any questions or comments? All in favor? All opposed? Motion carries 7-0.
So Carla, I know you brought some guests. Will you please introduce them this evening? Wonderful. Congratulations. So guys, y'all are going to spend some time this summer helping her at the school, I'm sure. Lots of time there, right?
Just
And
remember, you will take pictures up here after the board meeting.
So now, can you tell us your kids, I know one is at Bel Sanchez with Mr. Nieto. Wonderful. Thank you. Congratulations. Stay after for pictures, Mr. Yancey, Ms. Boyce.
Yeah. All right, next on the deal is student outcome discussions, and we just kind of wanted to highlight or point out some things as a board. And, you know, everybody in this district has some type of touch on a student outcome, be from the custodian to the bus driver who meets them in the morning, the police officers, the maintenance, teachers, administrators, this board. We all have some type of touch for the student outcomes. And we want to know we appreciate what each and every one of y'all do for these students. So I'm going to leave it at that, and does anybody else have anything?
Yeah, I'll go ahead. Thank you, President Humberg. And I second what President Humberg said. I know there's a lot that goes into daily interactions with our kids and the student success, and I appreciate this opportunity, and especially the information that we heard today that has been prepared and shared with us. As I continue to learn in my role of leadership on this board, I'd like to encourage us to have more conversations like this around student outcomes, because we all are passionate about various areas. I know you mentioned mental health awareness and things like that. There's so much involved on a daily basis with these students, and I think in our role as trustees and our leadership in this district, I want to make sure and encourage us to continue to have these kind of discussions with each other.
Anybody else?
Yeah, if I could add to that. When we were at the school board conference a month or so ago, I sat through a lot of sessions on student outcomes, and there's a lot of schools doing supposedly innovative things to improve student outcomes, and they're doing their best just to make it a better future for their kids. And I would stay after, and I talked to a lot of the school board members and superintendents after, and I was trying to find a common denominator amongst all of them, and it ended up being that their boards are incredibly passionate about student outcomes, about having the more kids graduate with CTE certificates and higher SAT scores and everything going up every year, and the board's trying to think of how they can support staff in doing that better. And when I asked them more about, well, how do you show your enthusiasm then for student outcomes? And they say, well, at every single meeting, we have some kind of presentation on student outcomes and what teachers are working on to make that happen and how the district supports it. So one of the thoughts, and AJ and I, frankly, we speak frequently about student outcomes. We read articles, we send it to each other, just, what's going on with other schools and around the state. So we just wanted, and today was a really great conversation just about CCMR and third grade reading and math and all the things that promote that. And what we want to just run by the board is the notion of, do we want to be that passionate about student outcomes that at almost every board meeting, we would want to have sessions about it and talk about it and see what the latest and greatest is and what's going on in the district. And even just tonight, I learned some phrases I never heard before. Someone said small group instruction and 7 steps and I guess all kinds of initiatives that go on to help our students be better. And I have no idea what these things are. And frankly, I think a board that's passionate about student outcomes would want to know these things and would want to know what tools are available. And that's kind of what I'm proposing.
Anybody else?
I'm sure we can get teachers to line up and present what 7 steps is. I have one in my house. So.
You have one in your house. You know what the 7 steps are.
I do know what the 7 steps.
You could lead us in that discussion.
No, I can't do that.
I will say, through our presentations that several of our departments give, I think that helps too. That will create some discussion and, always speak up. We have CTE will be presenting in January. We had attendance, which attendance is a student outcome, right? If kids are not in seats, they're not learning. And so there's research that if kids are not in school, they're not going to learn. So those types of presentations, we have academics in the past, we've had capturing kids' hearts. And so we'll continue as administration to seek out with our departments other ways to show you in outcomes, not just with, our facilities have to be top-notch for our students to have a good learning environment. So we'll have presentation from operations at some point just on, where our facilities are. And so I think all of these things come together to make the best learning environment for our students. But yes, we will continue to seek out ways to show you and to engage you and to educate you in what we're doing, that our students are successful. Just like this evening, I think someone in the past had said, our accommodations with our students, that's a student outcome, right? All those students who work hard in the classroom, outside of the classroom in their extracurricular activities, showed up tonight and showed what they did at the fair. Our football teams, our bands, and the student superintendent report, those are all part of our student outcomes. And so it's a kudos to our administrators who are here who lead all of those activities on campus and who engage in those conversations and who get together to do your campus performance objectives to align to the district goals. And so we thank you. We know a lot of time, a lot of hard work goes into that. And I think what our board is trying to say is that they support our staff and what we're doing each and every day. And we just have to share with them all the great things. And so thank you also for submitting for the weekly each week, because that gives a lot of information as well to our board of what's happening in the different areas.
Anybody else? All right, then I'll make a motion to adjourn. We have a second. Trustee Selsky, all in favor? All opposed? We are adjourned. Thank y'all very much for tonight.
Stay for pictures.
Stay for pictures.
Pictures.
Oh, yeah.